This morning, some travelers now worried about booking their spring vacations because of growing coronavirus concerns. Just this week, in Spain's Canary Islands, 1,000 guests at this hotel were quarantined inside after one tested positive for coronavirus. In Italy, a country with the fifth most cases in the world, tourist hotspots like Milan and Venice now warning people to stay home, creating virtual ghost towns.
Shopping centres are sanitised in Seoul. Government employees are sterilising public transport as the South Korean government steps up efforts to stop the spread of the coronavirus. Joint military exercises with the United States have been postponed after an American soldier stationed at a base near Daegu tested positive.
The containment efforts of COVID-19 and the safety of ROK and U.S. service members were prioritized in making this decision.
China's death toll rose by 254, reaching more than 1,300 people. So that more than doubled the previous highest number of deaths in a single day.
Americans are among 20 passengers who have tested positive for coronavirus on a luxury cruise ship off the coast of Japan. They were seen being escorted off the Diamond Princess cruise liner to be taken to a mainland hospital for treatment. They were among 3,700 passengers on lockdown, some of whom have posted video of what it's like on board. Masked health workers, virtually deserted public spaces. One passenger called the ship a floating luxury prison. Looking at nearly 2 more weeks confined to her cabin, Trudy Clement is unsettled.
Apparently we're going to be allowed out to stretch our legs tomorrow, but we are being supervised when we do that, and we only can go to a certain area of the ship, and we must mask up.
Clement said she feels like an alien.
We look down off the balcony and we see all these people masked, gowned, gloved, and it's just like the people that deliver food to our room. You open the door and you feel like E.T. at the end of the movie.
Around the world fell on Monday as reports confirmed the coronavirus is spreading beyond just China. And concerns are growing about its potential to become a global pandemic.
The coronavirus is looking more and more like a global pandemic, spreading far beyond mainland China, where the government says strict quarantines have slowed infection rates locally. But even this has failed to stop the virus. In Italy, a few cases this weekend ballooned today to over 200. At least 7 dead, train lines stopped. Nearly a dozen villages declared zone rosse, red zones.
The challenge for the Italians is stopping the spread before it spreads through Europe's open borders, and that starts here at train stations, airports, and transportation hubs.
In Iran, 12 dead so far. The government is racing to increase production of surgical masks. In South Korea, more than 800 now infected. In the most impacted area, a line for face masks went on and on. In Hong Kong, one of the first places hit, I went to see a doctor who just finished his shift working directly with coronavirus victims.
It's been described to me like a cold, except this one will kill you.
Yeah.
Is that about how you see it?
The problem is with this new virus, it comes with a mortality of around 2 to 3%, which is extremely high if you consider it as a flu virus.
If it can impact a fifth of the population,
it would be a catastrophe, yes.
I followed Dr. Wong as he went to see his wife for dinner. She's pregnant, so they kept far apart, eating takeout at a distance, texting back and forth. The virus now nearing pandemic proportions, as doctors believe many countries, especially those bordering China, probably have more cases than they know about or are reporting. Richard Engel, NBC News.
Where global tech giant Google has announced the opening of more U.S. offices and data centers over the next year. But what does this mean for you? There's actually a real reason as to why Google thinks that they need to expand who they have working for them.
Well, Scotty, Google plans to invest $10 billion from its current presence in 26 states in an effort to grow across the country. Now, this is especially after facing so much scrutiny from lawmakers. Now, Google plans to expand to additional states, including Colorado, Georgia, Massachusetts, Nebraska, Ohio, and Texas, just to name a few.
Let's talk about 5G, the latest and greatest mobile network that they say is going to transform our lives. It sounds promising. 5G will let us download an HD movie in seconds.
That's just hilariously fast.
Doctors will be able to perform remote surgery with virtually no lag time. And it'll make self-driving cars smarter and safer. But there are also suspicions that 5G will expose us to more security breaches, privacy issues, and even health problems. So what exactly is 5G? And how much of the excitement or fear is just hype?
Give us a sense, how can artificial intelligence help in a case like this? And are there ways that reliance on it for the wrong things or in the wrong way can actually hinder the correct response?
Let me take those one at a time. So can it help? Absolutely. AI can help in multiple ways. One is in drug discovery and in identification of antiviral agents. 2 is in mining of data in hospitals to improve treatments in real time. And 3 is to identify clusters when public health organizations work together. The technology exists, but very, very few healthcare workers are trained in its use. And more importantly, trained in use of platforms that can make the technology applicable quickly.
We all know 3G and 4G. They're the mobile networks we use today. You see them at the top of your phone and they give us access to the internet. But we're now making way for the next generation. 5G is promoted as the best and fastest connection around. And in some countries, it's already available. South Korea launched 5G networks last year. So did providers in China, the UK, the US, and Germany. New 5G phones are on the way too. Samsung released the first one in 2019.
Bringing commercial 5G to life before the rest.
So here is how it works. 5G uses a wide range of radio frequencies, starting from the lower end, which we already use for television and Wi-Fi, all the way up to what's called millimeter waves, which are extremely high frequency and used for things like radar guns and security screening at airports. This means that 5G can carry huge amounts of data faster. And that's a big reason why we need it. Our mobile networks are running out of capacity. Soon they won't be able to accommodate the growing number of devices we're using. And there's money to be made. Governments will earn revenue by granting 5G licenses. The other reason to move to 5G? Innovation.
We have more sensors in the world collecting data and transmitting them back and forth in a smart, intelligent, hybrid way. It is sort of like a Jetsons-like futuristic technology.
My ingredients, and I get recipes that can...
He's talking about what they call the Internet of Things. And what it means is more and more of our devices like smart speakers or exercise equipment will remember and even anticipate our preferences. And 5G will allow them to talk to each other at record speed.
You will be connecting many more devices to the internet for the same probably amount of money and without interfering one to each other.
Misused? Yes, of course. When data sets are very small or when people attempt to build things that aren't ratified, of course. Machine learning algorithms can become biased quickly. Again, a very important reason why training is so key.
You say are some of the potential consequences when surveillance apparatus gets turned and combined with artificial intelligence to be used for public health? I mean, are there good circumstances for that? Are there potential pitfalls? Because as we watch the Chinese response, we've had some people, I don't know how well informed they are, suggest that perhaps in the early stages, China relied too much on surveillance and control and the data they had, and that might have hindered their response. So what happens when you start to use surveillance apparatus for health reasons?
This is why training and preparation and creativity are so important. At moments of crisis, it's hard to implement a system which is perfect. Using only one metric, like temperature or body temperature, or only two metrics, like body temperature and range of motion and movement of potential agents, is often insufficient.
The challenge with 5G is coverage. Shorter wavelengths carry more information but are more easily blocked by things like trees and walls. With 4G, transmitters or base stations can be several kilometers apart. But with 5G, they need to be closer, which means we need more of them. One estimate suggests the US alone will have to install 1 million new towers. That's why 5G is really more of a gradual rollout, not a launch, because all of that back-end infrastructure will take years to build.
What we're going to see is a substantive replacement or upgrade of the core systems that telecommunications companies provide. That's going to be a really massive investment.
The problem in some places is that big phone companies have only just finished building their 4G networks.
They want to both enjoy the benefits and the profits of the money they've put into it, but also they recognize that while there's this assertion that we're in a 5G race, it's not a short-term race, it's a very long-term marathon.
And the race is already getting crowded. Some of the big names in 5G are Ericsson from Sweden, Nokia in Finland, and Samsung from South Korea. But one company is way in the lead.
Today, it's the world's biggest supplier of network telecommunications equipment.
Huawei has been bidding for contracts around the world to set up 5G networks, but the Chinese company isn't welcome in a lot of places. Australia, New Zealand, Taiwan, and Japan have all blocked Huawei from building their 5G networks. So has the US. The Trump administration has even put pressure on the UK, Poland, and Germany to stop them from working with Huawei. There's an obvious business reason for that. Huawei has been crushing the competition, and the Americans want in. But the countries shutting Huawei out say there's more to it.
For the US and many Western nations, the tech giant is a spying tool for the Chinese government.
Chinese law requires these firms to support and assist Beijing's vast security apparatus.
Allegations its top executives deny. They insisted Huawei's not in the pocket of China's government.
Huawei is basically accused of being a pawn in China's state-sponsored spying.
And there's an assumption that, in terms of cybercrime and cyber war, there's like a bloc on the east that's leading all these attacks.
There's a strong expectation, at least in North America and in parts of Western Europe, that relations with China will become more antagonistic, not due to a military conflict or something of that nature, but on the basis of trade, on foreign policy, on human rights and issues like that.
But 5G also stirs up a lot of debate about our own individual privacy. We're facing a future where more and more of our basic household items will be connected to a 5G network. That's a lot more data being collected, like what you watch on TV, where your car is, and whether there's someone at home. It's information advertisers are after, and it's data that others might want to misuse.